Alright y'all, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Caffeine and Conspiracies. Alright, okay. So here's the thing, yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this short and concise. I'm gonna give a couple disclaimers. One, I'm a Christian. I do believe in the Constitution. But that's okay, we can all have open dialogue. I think we're conditioned with last like 10, 12 years to like want to be divisive if we think differently, which is not cool, man. It's not cool, bruh. So, just that. Also, I also want to make the disclaimer that I'm going to throw some things out, and they could be some wild accusations. It's all in the eye of the beholder, and if you think I'm wrong, or I'm misled, you can do your own digging. I was talking to a buddy, and we're going back and forth a little bit. It's kind of a debate, and that's fine. I love debate, but there's this notion that you know, I believe you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? Most of you have heard that. If you're from the South, the Midwest, the West, you've probably heard it. You know, everyone, I mean, I know a lot of people that have heard it, but if you haven't heard it, think about it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I can show you this dot, and you can look at it. It could be literally someone in a video saying something, right? But I can't make you think that, you know, that didn't happen if you saw a video, right? Like, I mean, it's just, it's not my duty. I don't think it's my duty to force you to believe anything. I'm just here to raise some questions. That's all. And, you know, if that ruffles some feathers, that's okay. That's okay. Because guess what? We have the First Amendment, man. Yeah. Huh. All right. All right, so I just want to throw that out there. I just want to, I'm looking for, my agenda here is to enlighten, to toss questions up, to not force you to do anything other than think differently, other than what you've been programmed to think, which is the news is truthful, which is we should trust our leaders, right? Which is the things depicted in films and television are usually fictional and just imaginative rather than a deep-seated truth and revelation through film and TV via the purpose to desensitize and condition. I mean, if you look at Operation Mockingbird, that was the whole goal. That is the goal. That is the goal. Alright, so let's talk about it. It's very interesting, taxation. You know, looking at, this is conspiracy, but it's also just like me saying some things. So, looking at how a lot of people are in office for 20, 30, 40 years, making 4 times the amount of income I made last year in 1 year. Per year, for decades, and then after they retire, they still get a percentage of that. What is going on? Right? Taxation is theft. Like, let's think about our ancestors that left the UK, you know, Great Britain, when it was. They left because of taxation. And we're sitting here, when you do all the math, as an employee status, you're paying like 50% plus of what you make in some sort of a tax. Come on! What is this nonsense? And we say it's because of this, and because of that, and because we want, and we say because we want nice roads, and you're like, I mean, I'm like, no. If you've been to Los Angeles, some of the roads out here, most of them are garbage. That's French for garbage. I don't know if that's true or not, actually. But when you go to a lot of cities that are heavily, heavily left-leaning, you have to ask yourself, where's the money going? And it's unfortunate that people point the finger at the federal government when it's really the states, right? These are designed innately separations. You know, there's a separation between powers. So when you look at some of the heaviest tax states, and you know, where's the money going? My thing is that I think we should do away with like 90% of taxes. I really do think that, and we should actually. One, you can, you know, go look at this information on your own, but I think we're discouraged to go look for our own. We're taught to just believe. Just believe. It's okay. So moving on, I believe, you know, we're having this conversation, left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. I think that is designed like that to create division. There's already this preconceived notion. If you don't think like me, you're wrong, or if I don't think like you, you know, whatever, vice versa. Like, the whole idea is you have to choose something, like one or the other. That's innately divisive. And I think it was set up like that on purpose to create division, right? Tesla. The suppression of technology is wild. I'm gonna connect a couple of dots here, or like allow them to be. In my thought, I think they're connected. Tesla was offed, and his stuff was hidden, and multiple other people took claim over some of his tech, and a lot of it has been hidden. And we can find like materials referencing certain technologies, but I think it's been hidden on purpose. I think we, as a people, species, have been suppressed so massively. We've been suppressed as a society, as a species. And then when you question it, I think it's very interesting when you question it, and you do have faith. I think we're taught, to just trust the government, to just trust the politicians because they know what they're doing. I think that's not. I think we should always question. And I think that if you do have faith, the moment this door opens, and I think it's going to happen like right now, this door where we have society and then we have the technologies that have been suppressed and hidden away and used to fuel for movies and stuff. The moment that door opens, the disservice that we've had done to us is that we are going to be in shock for a moment. Who knows how long that's going to be. A state of shock, because the technologies that are going to be revealed, I believe, are going to seem science fiction to us, because that's what we've been taught, right? Conditioned via film. So it's just interesting. It's like we should not shy away from that. And it's not. I don't think it's playing God in a sense. I think God wants us to advance. I really do. I really do think if you say this person has a gift, or these people have gifts, and these gifts come from God, and we use those gifts to create things, right? Because we are designed to create, to imagine and create a better all, right? Why is it so far-fetched to think that God doesn't want us to advance if He's already given us the gifts, right? And I want to point out that not only do I think these technologies have been suppressed, but there's video footage. I've posted this in areas, and you go look it up. Bill Gates is so. This guy, I was oblivious to this at one point, realizing now, like, wow, how much is he attempting to control the population? How much does he's playing God, guys. Like the vaccine game, I mean, he doesn't have a medical degree, right? I mean, how is he able to create a vaccine? I talked about this in my earlier video, you go check that out. But the point is, I think we're being suppressed, and I think we're systematically being destroyed at the same time. So not only these technologies hidden, but there's an agenda here to actually depopulate. And that's not really a conspiracy theory. It's open. You can go look at the materials. You can go look at the videos. They're talking about it, right? Like increasing the death tolls to psychologically decrease the desire to have children. What? Crazy. I want to touch on one thing too. I voted for Trump. I know, you probably thought that already, but here's the deal. Listen, hold up. Don't go nowhere. All right. Do I think Trump is the answer to all of our problems? No. Do I think he's made a couple decisions that are, misaligned? Yes. Do I think we're better off with him than the latter? Absolutely. Now we talk about my buddy and I were debating on guns, on the Second Amendment, and I think I'm a constitutionalist. I think that the Constitution is written and it should not be messed with. And people can debate with me all day. I know. That's why I don't make decisions, right? But I think that it should be. And he mentioned the bump stocks, and I have friends of mine that are pro-gun as well. And I do think that was a poor decision on his part, but I also think, that he's playing the biggest chess game ever. Well, in as a human being, the biggest chess game. So let's analyze this for a second. If you have a shooting, and I think based on what I've seen, there have been a lot of false flags. That doesn't mean it's a fake shooting. That means that people really still got hurt and killed, which is terrible, 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 terrible. But it wasn't what they said it was, like the total picture of it all. So I sit on a lot of sides of this. I think it's terrible, but there's an agenda here too, y'all. So I think that when he signed that legislation, yes, it was unconstitutional. But I also think that there was one of the biggest moves, because you know SunTzu, the art of war, to move this hand and not let them see this hand, right? The left, Dems, liberals, leftists, not in judgment, just simply saying that they are who they are. They believe what they believe. Want to push back on guns, want to take guns away, for sure. I mean, you go listen to audios and you can watch videos of blatantly, we are going to take your guns, bro, right? So to appease them, think about this. This is like jiu-jitsu, y'all. This is some deep stuff. Imagine watching two black belts, right? Really good black belts. And you just started. You're like, whoa, that's crazy, whoa. And the moment you start getting years and years in training jiu-jitsu, you start noticing the game, right? Where somebody set this up 5 moves ahead, 8 moves ahead. That's a different level. So I think this is a jiu-jitsu thing, right? In a sense. He signs this, it distracts them. They think he's weak. SunTzu, art of war. If you appear weak on purpose, your enemy can come try to take advantage of that, and that's when you capitalize. It's very simple. Be where your enemy doesn't think you are, and vice versa. It's how you outwit, right? And I think that's what's going on here. So I foreshadow that any sort of anti-gun legislation that's been passed year after year, whatever it is, I think it'll be repealed. So just my point I wanted to make. The other thing is offensive design. I think that we're conditioned to be offended by all things. And I'm sure people are going to watch this and be offended just because I'm talking about it. Like, oh my gosh, he's so insensitive. Come on. Like, and it's not about me judging you for that. It's about me simply just stating, like, why is everybody offended about everything? All like, this is not, 100 years in the making, y'all. Well, maybe this has not been going on for 100 years. This has been like a recent thing where everybody has to be offended by everything, and if you don't think like me, then you're wrong, and I hate you, and I don't want to talk to you, and you're not my friend, and I have to unfollow you and unfriend you because you don't think like me. How emotionally insecure is that, right? I mean, and again, this is not a place of judgment. This is just a point of like my opinion based on what I've seen, we should all be out here talking to each other, debating openly, not being offended, and just be able to talk about these things. The agenda here in the mainstream media is we should all be one, but divided, right? Check it. If you're black, you're black. If you're white, you're white. If you're this, you're this. The identity politics, the group identity politics is so destructive to unity. I do think racism is real. I don't think it's the #1 problem we face as a country. I think that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So the mainstream media, which is owned by 5 companies, by the way, if you didn't know that, go check that out, go look it up. Go look up at Operation Mockingbird, right? The CIA's upper involvement for the last 50, 60 years 70 maybe, I think 70. 70 years in the entertainment industry and in news media. So it's the narrative that's been pushed for decades now, right? Maybe 2 decades. It is like, we should be together, but remember, you have your own identity. You hear, like, I have black friends of mine, and you hear black conservatives talk, and they get ousted because they think differently. That's going to tie me into another point I want to make too. Margaret Sanger? Margaret Sanger? I keep wanting to say Thatcher, but that's not true. Margaret Sanger. My computer's messing up. So, think about this. She was all about eugenics. She was all about KKK involvement. Guys, the same lady that preached whatever, spoke with whatever, the KKK. Same woman who pushed the eugenics. Same woman who also pushed the Planned Parenthood concept, the concept of abortion. Now you can think what you want, but there's a lot of speculation, and this is coming from, you know, I have friends that are black, and I've heard it time and time again, the push to suppress the black community, and other communities too, but like notoriously the black community. What? So you're telling me, yeah, I'm telling you, that there's a conspiracy here to help regulate, depopulate, destroy the black community by Planned Parenthood, by vaccines, etc. It's rather disturbing. And the fact that I have friends that when when they speak up, they're black. When they speak up on this, they get ousted by their own community because they don't think like others. They don't think the way they're told to think. Like, bro, it's rather sickening. And to see Hillary Clinton is so about Margaret Sanger, bro. Like, come on. I don't have to force these dots to connect. They're right in front of you. They're right in front of our eyes, right? Again, can I prove it? Who knows? Can you go look on yourself? Yeah, you can look for yourself. I just want to point that out. And Nick Cannon was quoted, what did he say? He said, oh man, I had it up here. Where'd it go? I think it went somewhere else. He said something along the lines of like, Margaret Sanger's goal was to destroy the black community. I don't remember. Go look it up. I'll look it up. So there's that. Now, you look at even the conspiracy behind organ harvesting, right? I don't know how much you all know about organ harvesting, but the concept was, and the black community's been saying this for a long time, y'all. I didn't really know like what to make of it, but now looking at it, it's like, wait a second. If you know what adrenochrome is, if you know what the sex drive, if you know 800,000 children go missing every year in the United States plus, if you know about, 8 million worldwide go missing, if you know about, Moloch sacrificing children to Moloch, like, these are emails. Moloch is in the Bible. He's an idol. He's, more or less, in my opinion, he's Satan, right? I don't know. You go look on that. Nick Cannon, Margaret Sanger said she wanted to exterminate the Negro race. That's a quote, y'all. That's a quote, okay? I have a lot of respect for Nick Cannon, especially after he comes in and he starts wanting to develop and finish developing what Nipsey Hussle stood for and what Dr. Sebi stood for. I think that's a beautiful thing. But that was a quote, right? That was a quote. You go look it up on your own. Nick Cannon exposed Margaret Sanger. I mean, it's been out there for a long time, but he brought it to the face. I mean, her intentions, and then the fact that Hillary Clinton is pro Margaret Sanger. Come on, y'all. And the idea that, in some states, this notion that Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat is absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah. So, a couple other things I want to touch on is people think I'm just, right. Look, when I vote, do I vote right? Yeah, for sure. But I do not support what the Bushes stood for at all. I think that predating them too, is I think that there's been a lot of deceit, corruption, for a long time, y'all. For a long time. And Bush Sr. and Jr. are part of it. Every war they started, I told my buddy, we were talking about, I think they, war profiteering, crimes against humanity, crimes against children, I think these all apply, whether you're left or right. And again, it comes back to my argument that I think left and right are designed, the idea of the two, are designed to create division innately. So, I think that, I just want to point that out. I mentioned this yesterday, the $2.3 trillion, I think it was insurance policy, additional insurance policy. I don't know. I could be mistaken a little bit on the numbers. I know how to do the defense budget, but the fact that a couple things happened before 9/11 to capitalize financially, you can't call that a coincidence. It's just, come on, guys, come on. And the fact that Osama bin Laden was a CIA operative when we killed him, and then couldn't identify his body there's no proof. We buried him at sea because we didn't want him martyred. And then most of those guys went down in a helicopter crash just, moments after, I think. I don't know if it's days or weeks. But I have a friend of mine who his nephew was part of the team that took out Osama bin Laden. But the fact that, you know, that happened and that happened and that happened, like, come on. So this isn't about left versus right, y'all. I'm just throwing some stuff out. I believe in digging for the truth, and I am pissed. Let me tell you what, my friend, my roommate, we're talking about it. I am pissed for the truth. Let me tell you, I am pro-truth. So I'm pissed because we've been lied to for a long time. And we're conditioned to not question. And we're conditioned to be divided when someone does question. That's what I'm pissed for. So just throwing that out there. JFK Jr., a couple more, like 2 more things I want to touch. JFK Jr., very interesting. His plane went down after he, you know, him and Trump were like super tight. And he discussed on many occasions he wanted to dismantle, if he had to, he'd dismantle the entire government to find out who killed his dad. The whole conspiracy around JFK. Because he wanted to do a lot of the good things, I think, for our country. His plane goes down, and guess who gets elected as the senator? Hillary Clinton. Oh, you're reaching. Right. So Seth Rich was reaching too, right? Seth Rich, go look at Seth Rich. Go Seth Rich. How many bodyguards? I think there's been 40 plus, I think, bodyguards of the Clintons that have been killed in some awkward fashion. Suicided, they call it. Right? I don't think it's an accident. How do you shoot yourself in the head twice? And again, this sounds insensitive. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I'm pissed for the truth. I've had 2 friends commit suicide, and it hurts. So if you were to find out that someone was murdered, and on paper they call it a suicide, all of us should be outraged. All of us. Not just me. You know, and it's tough because he's like, go find sources, and you're like, okay. So if you know 90% of the mainstream media is owned by 5 companies, and you know Operation Mockingbird was a contract between the CIA and the entertainment world and the mainstream media to control the type of information shown, then we're desensitized to look deep and to dig deep, and you're going to go back to the same source when you try to prove it or disprove it, right? Like, come on. I think that we're desensitized to think the New World Order, like I mentioned this earlier, the New World Order is just a thing. Just like it's just a joke in a movie, it's a joke in a song. It's right in our face. It's right in our face. And it's very interesting, I think. Last thing I want to touch on is China. Look, this whole thing about China, there's levels to this. I think we need to be prepared to witness something. I hope not. But we're at the brink where, you know, President Xi, if he could turn into one, like, I don't know. He could turn into one of 2 characters. We know that China's a communist nation. We know that they suppressed the virus. We know there's levels to this, right? First, they said it was the U.S. military that did it, right? That created it. Second, we find out that Charles Lieber, this is in the news, Charles Lieber and 2 Chinese officers were arrested, and Charles Lieber was taking $50,000. He's a virologist, I think, or a biochemist. I don't know his official term, but he was at Harvard and working on these things. He was arrested and tried back in February, I think, and it was not mainstream, right? It was 2 days, and then it was down. Nope, and you're like, okay. So the fact that happened, and then recently they said, oh, you know, it came from a bat. It came from a bat in the wet market. Then you look at the fact that bats are not within 900 miles of the Wuhan market. Then 4, there's a documentary on Epoch Times, or Epic Times, or whatever. It talks about this, you know, prolific virologist that created this thing. She'd been working on it for like 15 years, I think, right? It's crazy. And then the moment this thing started surfacing in the news, the school that she went to removed her photo, put a Google stock photo in her place. And then they finally came out and said, oh yeah, it came from the lab. It came from the lab. It did come from the lab. Okay? But it was an accident, they said. Who knows? We can only hope. And then we got defective equipment, that PPE that's coming in from China, defective and is infected, possibly with the coronavirus, I guess. You know, the trade deficit has decreased substantially between us and China. We defunded the World Health Organization, which I'm all for, actually, because Tedros went to China in early January, and it was like nothing was happening. And then he didn't say anything to anybody. He said, no, leave your borders open. This all sounds like a big conspiracy for a massive psychological, economical, and biological warfare. This big game. So I think it's not about, being anti-Chinese. It's about noticing the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. We gotta realize that there's been a lot of cover-up, a lot of lies, a lot of deception, a lot of bad intentions, a lot of action taken, and we should not ignore that. Well, we should be aware of it, not being afraid. Now, my point is, I'm gonna wrap this up. I think it's important to point these out because I'm digging in pretty hard, and I think I have a gift to speak, and this is not about creating fear or panic. This is about creating awareness. And I want to encourage you to do your own digging. I've thrown out a lot of terminology, this video, multiple videos before and after. I'm going to talk about some stuff. Go look on your own. Go dig for yourself. I think that that's our duty. Knowing that God loves you, that God's protecting you, yes. That Jesus died for you, yes. That you should not operate in fear, yes. But we should operate in awareness, in justice, and in a call to action, to dig deeper for the truth. Right? And to know what's going on, because there are a lot of big moving parts here that aren't being shown. And I think that we got to do that. We owe ourselves that duty. And if you have kids, if you want to have kids, if you believe in protecting the next generation, it's our duty to dig. It's our duty to know, to look, to seek, to find, to knock, to have the doors open. Right? I don't know. I pray that God, guides me in delivering these things. I pray that I don't come off holier than thou. I just feel I needed to speak about these things. So God, thank you so much for bringing us together, whether these people believe or not, whoever's watching, whether they believe or not, let them feel that you love them, that them feel it deep within their bones and their soul. Bring us all together to look for justice, to seek wisdom, to seek love, to seek awareness, and not operate in fear, but operate in faith and in focus. Thank you, Father. In your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Thank you so much. May God have grace on your day.